I'm going to do that same idea for this petal. And then see where things lie. I lost some of the I may double check on that, but I'm going to bring in some light yellow for the whole middle part of this. Oftentimes, here's a little tip. Oftentimes when I am wetting the area that I'm going to add a little bit of color in, where it seems like, oh God, I'm spending all this time on clear water and not doing anything besides a light touch of yellow, I will kind of soften. Yeah, some paints, the phthalos are interesting. I was going to say weird, but because while they are very staining, so you really can't lift up much of phthalos. At the same time, they're quite fine with letting you lift up just a tiny bit. And they'll sort of re-wet, and especially for things like this, it can have a nice effect and sort of just make it so that it looks like the petal is a little bit transparent towards the edge. You can make that a little bit crisper and define that even more. But for now, here's a little bit of the yellow. As of yellow. I was trying to scrub away a little bit of that just to clean up the shape while I was here at it. But, these layers are so light that it's easy to get a little bit too worried about it being exact. And what will often happen is that it dries back even lighter. So sometimes it seems like you really haven't done anything. Let me come in on this one. I think that's going to dry fine. And it's so light and it's a first layer, so I'm really not that worried. This water may be getting to the point where it's a little bit not clear enough. I don't know if that's all the way dry. Let's see. So I don't inadvertently make something, do something I don't want to happen. I am going to come back and paint something that in an area that I know is not wet. I'm going to see what happens a little bit with some of the phthalo green blue shade and a little bit of azo yellow. Actually, maybe a little bit of, ooh, yeah, the Hansa Yellow Light, I think that is. That makes some really nice mixes. I want this sort of, this leaf back here, which I think it is. I really can't even tell at this point. But I want to darken this guy up and just sort of clean that up. So this is my foreground. This paper, it is arches, but I feel like there's a couple spots where I don't know if it got too beat up and it doesn't want to hold its edge. I'm gonna bring in just a little bit of a little bit more phthalo green blue shade and try to darken this up even more, popping in some color. Part of what is going to make these the whites of the Plumeria petals stand out is to make sure that everything around them is really quite dark, or that they're defined by dark shapes and the negative shape. That's wet. That's... I could, and I'm going to, not only could I, well, first of all, I'm going to clean this. Whee! I'm not sure if that counts as cleaning. I'm going to have to deal with that little issue there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm sure I'll figure out something. I'm going to make the underside of these, this bottom leaf here even a little bit darker. I'm going to use a little bit of the phthalo green blue shade and probably a little bit of ultramarine blue. First I'm going to, I think I'm going to wet it down with just this phthalo green. And then up here, where it would be covered even a little bit more, of the light would be not showing. I'm going to drop in a little bit of even darker color. Subtle, but very different than it was. And depending on how much time I feel like I have, I could even drop in some darker color there. I'm not doing that now, but this is still a little bit of the phthalo green and ultramarine blue, which will get quite dark. I could introduce some of the indigo to get even darker. Okay, time for break.